She died without changing anything. Now she's back, with fragments of the future. Chapter 1. The system wakes up way too soon. Light, pain, the kind of sound that doesn't echo. It simply ends. Falling but not floating, a flash of white, a scream that never finished, and then nothing. Cat jolted awake, gasping, her heart hammering against her ribs as if trying to break free. She sat up too fast and cracked her head against the bunk above her. "Ow! Dang it!" she muttered, instinctively pressing a hand to the sore spot. Her lungs burned, desperate for air, and for a few disorientating moments, everything around her felt wrong. Not peaceful, wrong. The silent buzzed too loudly, the stillness pressing against her skin. Panic stirred deep in her gut. She wasn't here, not yet. The world around her fractured, and for a heartbeat she stood inside a vaulted hall of shattering glass and burning sky. Banners bearing the Ryu dynasty crest whipped violently in the hurricane winds of collapse. The marble floor trembled under her feet. Sirens howled in the distance. At the center of the chaos, atop a crumbling dais, stood Viren Ryu, the man the world had once called Taiju. But there was no mask left, no pretense, only a force of destruction made flesh. Voice hoarse with fury that cut through the din like a blade, her voice rose higher, ripping to the stone and smoke. I sacrificed my body at the altar of your false gods. I burned away my womanhood to become the hand that strikes judgment. Viren roared, arms outstretched as the structure around her splintered, burned and shuddered. The walls buckled, dust rained down in shimmering sheets. Somewhere beyond the cracking stone, the dynasty she had once sworn to uphold was already beginning to fall, and she would be the one to finish it. The archive, the secret hall Cat had been honored to visit, shuddered, mortally wounded. Cat staggered backwards, horror booming in her chest. She saw the panic in the eyes of the dynastic loyalists who had hidden her amongst them, thinking human shields would save them. They had been wrong. The final detonation tore through the building, heat, sound, light, all collapsing at once, and Cat felt herself flung into the abyss, weightless, broken apart from the inside out. A scream clawed up her throat, but never made it out. The world turned inside out, and then the canned tomato scent of home. The scratch of a shared comforter against her face, the faint, steady wheezing of Nina sleeping beside her. Cat gasped and clutched the blanket with white-knuckled hands, her hand trembling. She was home. She was alive. But the echo of destruction still vibrated deep inside her, undeniable and unshakable. Somewhere, deep inside her, a thought stirred like smoke from a dying fire. Maybe it wasn't supposed to end that way. Maybe none of it was. Another memory surfaced, half forgotten, half dreamed, a line from an old text she had once loved. The race to change the world cannot be run alone. The words lodged deeply, echoing the hollow space of her heart. She didn't know what they meant yet, only that something inside her had failed before, and that next time when the race began again, she would not, should not, run alone. She closed her eyes and breathed shallowly. For a moment longer she saw flashes of that other future, a gleaming city of latticed gardens and silver towers, luminous people moving through clean air. But there was something else too, hidden beneath the shine, a shadowed alley where a man was turned away from a clinic's glowing gates, a scan flashing, non-compatible, over his bowed head. Cat's heart twisted. She hadn't remembered that part before. The future she remembered wasn't perfect. It only wore perfection like a mask. Cat pressed her palms against her face, willing herself to focus on the reality in front of her. I was dead, she whispered into her palms. I know I was. She remembered the ending, sudden, brutal, and unceremonious. No flash of glory, no profound epiphanies, just a gut-wrenching snap, and the hollow sense of being yanked from everything she had ever known. Downstairs, the kettle screamed, dragging her senses back to the present. Her mum must be up already, half sleeping her way through the motions of survival. Toast, instant coffee, another day of trudging through the world. Her dad's heavy work boots were missing from the mat by the door. Early shift, again, bad ankle or not. Kat swung her legs carefully over the side of the bed, the thin carpet biting into her bare feet, grounding her further in the here and now. Her hands trembled slightly as she stared at them, small, unscarred, but with the faintest echo of something larger lingering in her bones. She had no idea why she was back, no understanding yet of what was wrong or how to fix it. Only the deep certainty that this time she could not afford to stand still. She moved towards the cracked mirror, studying her reflection under the grim light of the laundry bulb. The same dark hair, the same stubborn jawline, but her eyes, they looked different. Sharper, brighter, the dull gaze of her disillusioned past self was gone, replaced by something harder, something more alive. This time, she whispered to her reflection, I fight. A soft stirring broke the moment, Mina murmuring in her sleep, Uni? Kat crossed the room in 2 strides and knelt by the bed, smoothing her hand over Mina's tangled hair. Shh, it's okay, she said gently. Go back to sleep. Mina shifted, curling deeper into the thin blanket with a soft breath of trust. A lump rose in Kat's throat. She hadn't failed Mina before. Selfishness, pride, anger, all the excuses she had hidden behind. But not this time. Never again. The kettle clicked off downstairs, signaling its shrill morning ritual was complete. Kat padded barefoot into the tiny kitchen where her mother stood half asleep in her faded bathrobe, a chipped mug of instant coffee in one hand. Steam curled weakly from the cup as her mother stared out the frosted window, her posture already braced for the day ahead. Morning, Kat said, her voice steadier now. Her mother blinked at her, surprised. You're up early? Kat shrugged, forcing the casual air. Couldn't sleep. Her mother gave a small tired smile. You're growing up, she said, almost wistfully. Before Kat could say more, a sharp knock rattled the front door. Her mother flinched and set down her mug with a clink. I'll get it, she said quickly, tightening the belt on her robe. The door creaked open, letting in a blast of cold air, and a tall, brisk woman with lacquered hair and a heavy leather purse slung over her shoulder strolled in. Ayah, so earthy and up already, Aunt Lynn said brightly, pushing past her sister-in-law without waiting for an invitation. She smelled faintly of expensive perfume and something sour underneath. Kat tensed immediately. Aunt Lynn only ever showed up for one reason. Ah, Jie, Aunt Lynn said, pressing her hands together in mock pleading. I hate to trouble you, but you know, my husband's pay has been delayed again, just until next month. Just a little. Kat Munns hesitated, glancing at Kat with a guilty flicker of her eyes. Not waiting for a response, her Aunt Lynn plowed on. Family helps family, right? You always taught me that, back when we were small. Even though your life isn't easy either. Her voice trailed off, but the implication hung heavy in the air. Kat clenched her fist in her lap. Her father worked 2 shifts. Her mother stretched every dollar until it screamed. And Aunt Lynn, whose husband drove a company car and wore a gold watch, was here to take what little they had. And still raising kids too, I see. Aunt Lynn said with a sharp laugh, glancing at Kat like she was a cracked vase left out in the rain. Must be nice having time to stay in school while some of us have to work. Kat opened her mouth before she could stop herself. That's not fair. Her mother's hand brushed hers under the table, a warning squeeze. Enough, she said softly, not meeting Kat's eyes. Kat shut her mouth. The sourness curled in her throat. Without another word, her mother disappeared into the back room. A moment later, she returned, folding a few crumpled bills into Aunt Lynn's waiting hand. Thank you, Jie, Aunt Lynn said with a bright, empty smile. I knew I could count on you. The door shut behind her with a soft thud. Kat stared at the table, at the long, splintered crack running through the vinyl. Some part of her wanted to scream. Some part of her wanted to cry. But mostly, She felt cold. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Not in the world she remembered, not in the world she wanted to build. And somewhere, deep in her marrow, she knew something had to change. Kat scrubbed her hands over her face, willing the knot in her chest to loosen. It didn't. Her mother busied herself wiping down the counter, though there was nothing to clean. The kitchen smelled of instant coffee, cold margarine, and something older, heavier, like dreams that had long since curdled into duty. Mina had come into the kitchen quietly. The shrill notes of Aunt Lynn had woken her up better than any alarm clock. Without a word, Kat pulled on her threadbare jacket, placed a sandwich in Mina's hand, and slung her warm backpack over one shoulder. Her mother gave her a quick, distracted glance before, but said nothing more. The words felt too brittle this morning, like the frost that spiderwebbed the windows, ready to crack under the slightest pressure. Outside, the winter slapped Kat's face, burning her lungs with its sharpness. She hunched her shoulders against the cold and waited by the curb, watching as Mina shuffled out behind her, yawning into the sleeve of her coat. Together they made their slow way towards school, their breath-forming twin ghosts in the air. Mina trudged beside her, half asleep, half dragging her backpack behind her like an anchor. Kat shifted her own bag higher on her shoulder and reached to take Mina's hand. It was small, ice-cold, and trusting, curling instinctively into hers. Kat tightened her grip without thinking, feeling the weight of it, of her sister, of the world, of unspoken promises she hadn't made yet but would have to keep. The walk was silent, except for the crunch of their boots over frozen sidewalks. Cars scraped past, tires hissing on the salted asphalt. Somewhere further down the block, a radio blared the tinny strains of a pop song Kat vaguely recognized from her first life, though it felt strangely foreign now, like something belonging to a world she no longer inhabited. As they turned the corner towards the school, Kat paused, her breath misting the air. In her mind, another memory flickered, an impossibility. Not this cracked sidewalk, not this worn-out town, but a place where roads were grown from living vines, adjusting their paths to match the needs of the walkers. A city where the very air seemed to hum with intelligence, where every citizen moved as part of a larger breathing organism of light and purpose. She had walked those roads once, in another lifetime. Had she loved them then? She thought she had. But now another image intruded, a group of children sitting apart from the others, their wrists bare of the luminous bands everyone else wore. No one shouted at them. No one pushed them away. They were just simply unseen, unacknowledged, faded out like worn threads. Kat shivered and looked away. The future wasn't as pure as she had wanted to believe. Maybe it never had been. Maybe this race to change the world, the real one, would have to start in places like this, with cold fingers and two small coats and invisible wounds. Uni, Mina said softly, tugging at her hand. Come on, we'll be late. Kat blinked and forced herself forward. Yeah, sorry, let's go. They reached the elementary wing first, where Mina peeled off with a sleepy wave. Kat watched her sister disappear into the chattering, jostling crowd of kids with their heavy backpacks and scuffed winter boots. For a moment, Kat hesitated, feeling like she was standing between two worlds, neither of them fully hers. Then she turned and made her way towards the high school building. School smelt the same as it always had: damp coats, glue sticks, the metallic tang of old radiator pipes. She walked the halls slowly, almost reverently, as if reacquainting herself with old scars. Her name was still taped crookedly inside her locker door. Her desk still bore the faint dent where she used to drum her pencil out of boredom. The ink stain from when she had once tried to doodle her way out of loneliness still faintly visible in the laminate. Everything looked the same, but she was not. Mrs. Langley handed out reading logs. The paper was rough between Kat's fingers. At the top, the same question stared back at her. What do you hope to learn this semester? Last time, she had scribbled something safe, something hollow. This time, she paused longer, the pen hovering above the line. Around her, classmates rustled paper and whispered and tapped their sneakers against the floor. It all blurred into white noise. Finally, she wrote slowly and with purpose. How not to waste my life. Before anyone could glimpse it, she folded the paper in half and tucked it into her notebook, shielding it from curious eyes. The day passed in a fog of familiarity tinged with strangeness. The lectures, the bells, the scraping of dust, and the fluorescent lights, they all pressed against her like too small skin, like she was trying to shrink back into. Kat drifted through it, an island unto herself, her mind tugging always towards the edge of memory and future, stitching connections she couldn't have yet named. At lunch, she sat alone on the cold edge of the courtyard bench, staring at the sky heavy with impending snow. The chill seeped into her bones, but she welcomed it. It made her feel real, present, not just a ghost walking borrowed streets. Across the cracked courtyard, a boy hunched over a battered textbook, sketching furiously. His pencil flew across the page, his movements sharp and urgent, as if he were trying to outrun something only he could see. For a moment, he looked up. Their eyes met across the empty space. Kat didn't flinch, didn't look away, did not look down, not this time. A shimmer flared at the edge of her vision, a flicker of gold, and the light was gone before she could focus on it. Like heat rising from the pavement on a sunny day, she rubbed her temples unsettled. Something was stirring inside her, something that hadn't existed the first time she had lived this life. She didn't know what it was yet, but this time she would be ready.